As you can see, I've done a little more work last night on the frame. I've got all the pixels in and I'm doing some testing. So with the little tester I have, I can only do 100 pixels at a time. So I'll show you some more once I get all the wires connected, and we'll go through that. Okay, so now that we have all of our pixels in, we can start to wire everything up. So I am going to start over here because it's easy. I've got some old labels from last year on here that I'll need to remove because this is no longer going into the garage. On the garage. So last year, due to time, all I did was just string these up like I normally would with a, I don't know, the little tiny mini lights around the garage and around the windows. You'll see those in the video. So all I did was just take these and just string them around, wire them up, and boom, done. So this year, of course, we're going to have frames for all the windows, a frame around the garage, all built off of the 1/2-inch PVC. So what I'm going to do next is, this will be one of our power injection points. So I'm going to make the wire that comes out about the same length. Strip all this good stuff back. If you don't own any strippers, I'm going to create a list of all the little parts and pieces you need, tools you might need. Strip these back. So as with, and if you don't know, every 12-volt system there is a positive and negative. On your power supplies they will be V positive and V negative. And by the way, 12 volts cannot shock you unless it's coming off of a capacitor, something that's got some really high current on there, so you don't have to worry about ever being shocked. And then of course, I don't know if you can see close enough, there is a white dashed line on these particular pixels. That is your ground, and usually there is some lettering on the positive side. So I'm going to do all of the negatives first, using black as ground. Twist those together. We'll twist these together. Should probably solder that one first, yeah. Okay, so we're going to crank up the trusty soldering iron my lovely wife bought me for Christmas because she knew we were going big, and she's totally into it. The Ryobi soldering iron actually heats up very fast. I need some solder. So we have some spool of solder. Of course, I've had for years. Of course, without my readers. This is a 6644.04 diameter. So this is This is solder that's already got flux in it. So you'll want to get yourself a 60/40 blend that works nice for electrical wiring. Okay, so we will find the grounds again. Put the readers on. That's ground, that's ground. And black is ground. And we will just solder this up a little bit. This will be interesting. Set the solder right there. Bring that down to where we can work with it. This is combat soldering 101. Do the same thing with the positive sides. And again, I'm injecting power every 50 pixels. And in one of the future videos, I will explain that in further detail. So there you go, that's wired up. I have got off of Amazon, a nice selection of shrink tube. Be sure to get yourself some marine shrink tube with the adhesive on the inside. And we'll see if this fits over. I should go a little bigger. A couple of these already pre-cut. So I'm just going to slip these over. Two pre-cut, which is good. Flip these over. Turn the soldering iron off. Take that before it falls. We'll just shrink these up. At the ends, I'll give these a little pinch. And they'll be nice and sealed. Don't have to worry about moisture, rain, snow, sleet, ice, anything getting in there. So next, I will finish this connection. So I'm going to grab, I have some 3/4 shrink tube that I'm just going to put over this connection here. And I'll just shrink the whole thing up nice and good. Along with the two that we did. more center. Feels good. It's going to be warm, but I'll give it a little squeeze just so the adhesive gets nice and stuck. And that's our first connection. So we will continue on with the rest of the power injection points, and then I'll show you how I wired up the pigtail and the connection down there once I get there. I wanted to show you a couple of things. This is the location where the pixels start for the upper window. So I have the 3 conductor, the 18.3 that I pulled from the bottom. This will connect to the end of the first set. Power, more power, because we have power injection going everywhere, every direction, so I figured I would do it at this point. So one power goes and continues down for the next connection, which is way down here. And then of course we have the start of our first set of pixels. And let's make sure I did that right. Or no, this is the end. This is the beginning, the one with the connector on it. And you can always verify by taking a look at the pixel with the DI, data in. I marked last year, or a month ago, less than a month ago, no, a month ago, marked how many pixels were on this particular strand, so that way I could just grab them out of the bin, and I needed 46 for this particular window, so I will have an extra pixel. So we'll take this off and we will cut this extra pixel off. And I do it about halfway. These are 3-inch spaced pixels, so there's not a lot of wire to work with. But in case I need 1 pixel for repair sometime in the future, I will have that ready to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually have to cut the end off of this. I will not use the power tails on this side, so I will trim these back and stagger them so they don't short. Pull these apart. So this is the last pixel, so we won't need to do anything with that except power injection. On the rest of the frames, the data from this will go back down to the end to tie into an output tail, so that way it can feed another frame. And in this particular case, I will be doing 3 windows, 3 frames, all fed from the same port of the Falcon controller. But in this case, we don't need to do anything with it. It'll probably be pretty close to the correct length. Strip that back. Oop. Nerfed it. So I grabbed, as you can see, grabbed and pulled and stripped back a little too far. So we will have to cut that and make sure we don't have any shorts at all. I'll be a little more careful. There we go. So color coding wise, red positive, black negative, V plus, V minus, and in this wire, green is going to be our data. Fire the soldering iron. So all we're going to do is tie all of the power together, and then the data will be all by itself going into the first pixel, which is the center conductor of these three. So go ahead and make that connection now. So I wanted to mention, this takes a little dedication. This is very time consuming. This will eat up the majority of your free time. But if you're dedicated and you enjoy it, well, the final project or product will definitely show. Well, we're at the end. So, what I'm going to do, of course I know most of you newbies like me don't want to waste any pixels, but, you know, it's the name of the game. These will actually probably get used in one of these smaller little animal figures that I have throughout the yard. So yeah, we'll just throw these over there for now, and they'll get thrown in the bin later. So here we're going to have power going into the whole thing from here. We're going to stick a tail on here. This is our first pixel, so we are going to go ahead and cut that off. Don't need that connector anymore. And we're definitely not going to need the power at this end, although we could tie everything together. I won't. I'll just cut it down, and I'll stagger it so it doesn't short. We'll grab a tail, and I'll show you how this all wires up. Let's talk pigtails. So I have chosen to use the Raywu connectors. Paul Zhang, X-Connect. So there's a couple of different versions out there. I just picked one, and that's the way it is. So what we're going to do, this is of course going to be our input. So we're going to have, of course, positive and ground, and our data cable. So our data cable is actually going to be connected to, let me turn the soldering iron again, and I'll have to make up some more shrink tube. But we're going to start with getting data in to our center, again our second center conductor, and we are going to solder that together, and then we'll get our data going up to our second window. That is going to be connected to the last pixel of the bottom window, again center conductor. So we'll get this all wired up and I'll show you the finished product. Okay, now that we've got our tail all completed, I'm going to throw a zip tie around this. Keep everything nice and snug, strain relieved. And while you're out shopping at the local supply store, get yourself some flush cutters so there's no sharp edge. You'll thank me later. Last season, I bought a bunch of these MTM ammo crates, plastic, waterproof. Already plugged this in. So this is one of 4 boxes that I built. Real quick, get things up and running. So what we're going to do, we're going to use this to test the entire window, because my little tester, again, that only does 100 pixels. So I'm just going to take an output here and plug it into here. I'll be back in a second. Okay, so now that that's plugged in, we'll use this as our tester. And what there is on this differential receiver, and we'll talk more about that in another episode. We've got a little test button. So we press and hold. Give it a 5-10 count. Release. And now we've got the entire thing lit up. We'll give it another press for another test pattern of red. Green, blue, just runs through a test pattern. And as you can see, we've got what, 100 and, let's see, 100, almost 200 pixels. Now I can't remember. We have no fading, no blinking. Everything's nice and good. All running off of one power. So in another episode I'll go into more detail on power injection and some of the different viewpoints that a lot of people have. Everybody's got their opinion on power. That's it. That's the first window frame done. I've got 5, 6, 7 more to build. I wanted to show you one more thing. Of course, got some of these here voltage and amperage meters. So I can do quick little tests. So as you can see, as we're going through the different colors, At full white, 100%, we're right around 2.3 amps for this particular frame. So that's our actual draw. So that's pretty cool. As you can see, we got the last of the frames built for the 3 windows. I did have to add an F amp in the mix. We had a little bit of blinking and some power injection directly off the box for the big window. So that is the update and the last of this build video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hit like, subscribe. Thanks for watching.